counter, her eyes widening as she caught sight of the famous rapper entering the restaurant. She knew who he was, Snoop Dogg, the legendary figure in the music industry. But there was something about the way she looked at him that seemed to signal something far less welcoming. Mandy, who had only recently started working at the upscale restaurant, had never interacted with celebrities before. She had heard rumors about how famous people could be demanding and even rude, and she couldn't shake off a sense of unease when faced with someone of Snoop's stature. The manager, noticing the situation, quickly ushered Snoop to a reserved table, the best in the house. However, as the evening wore on, something started to feel off. The restaurant was bustling with patrons, but despite the high profile of the guest, service seemed unusually slow. The table was never set properly, the drinks were delivered late, and Snoop's meal didn't come for a long time. As the time dragged on, his patience began to wear thin, and others in the restaurant couldn't help but notice the discontent on his face. Mandy had been assigned to serve him, but instead of treating him with the respect and professionalism that such a well-known guest deserved, she became flustered. Her nerves took over, and the service she provided was less than stellar. She avoided eye contact, her hands shaking as she placed his order down in front of him, and she made a few unintentionally rude remarks under her breath. As the situation escalated, some of the other patrons, sensing the tension, whispered to one another, unsure of how the encounter would play out. Eventually, the matter reached its boiling point. As Snoop Dogg waited, visibly frustrated, the restaurant manager arrived at the scene, clearly panicking. He attempted to smooth things over, but instead of apologizing or offering a solution, he became defensive and dismissive of Snoop's concerns. In a flash of poor judgment, the manager, in a knee-jerk reaction, called the police, overreacting to the situation. Within minutes, 2 officers entered the restaurant, their hands resting on the holsters of their guns, ready to escalate the situation further. Snoop's expression remained calm, almost amused by the absurdity of it all. Instead of raising his voice or making a scene, he took a deep breath, understanding that this situation could turn into a moment of powerful transformation. He had seen injustice before in all forms, but he was not the type to retaliate violently or add fuel to the fire. Instead, he decided to turn the tables in a way only someone with his wisdom and experience could. The officers walked up to Snoop's table, their presence intimidating, but Snoop remained composed. He stood up, slowly and deliberately, and addressed the officers calmly. "I'm just here for a meal, man. There's no need for all this. I get it. I've been through a lot, but I won't let this disrespect stand. We're better than this, aren't we?" The officers, taken aback by his words, hesitated. The tension in the room had suddenly shifted. Snoop's demeanor had taken control of the situation without the need for anger or aggression. He had turned an ugly moment of injustice into a platform for understanding and change. As he looked around, the other diners who had been silently watching were now reflecting on their own roles in the incident. Snoop continued to speak, this time addressing the entire restaurant. "We've all got a role to play in making this world a better place. We can choose to turn moments like this into lessons. So let's make sure we don't judge others too quickly. We've all got more to learn from each other than we realize." What happened next was unexpected. The officers, realizing their overreaction, backed down. The manager too came over and apologized sincerely, acknowledging the restaurant's mistakes. Mandy, though still feeling awkward, quietly apologized as well, realizing how her own insecurities had impacted her service. But Snoop wasn't done yet. He stood tall, looked around the restaurant and said, "I know it's not easy to do the right thing sometimes, but when we choose kindness and understanding, we all come out better for it." He took out his phone and shared a message with his millions of followers, not to seek sympathy, but to encourage everyone to turn moments of disrespect into opportunities for growth and learning. By the end of the evening, the atmosphere in the restaurant had completely shifted. People began to talk to each other more openly, and many even took the opportunity to apologize to Snoop for the way he had been treated. The moment was no longer about celebrity or status. It became a collective, learning experience for everyone involved. It was about understanding, respect, and how to handle adversity with grace. The video of the incident soon went viral, not as a moment of scandal, but as an example of how patience, kindness, and a powerful message could turn a negative experience into something that would leave a lasting impact on the world. It was a story that resonated far beyond the walls of the restaurant, reminding everyone that, no matter the circumstances, we always have a choice in how we respond to injustice. Snoop Dogg didn't just show up for a meal that day. He delivered a powerful lesson about humanity, respect, and the ability to turn adversity into a force for good. Snoop's expression remained calm, but there was a subtle shift in his demeanor. He had been disrespected before, but this felt different. Mandy's overt disdain wasn't just for him as a celebrity, but for him as a person, as someone she deemed unworthy of even basic respect. Her words stung, but Snoop, knowing the importance of handling the situation with grace, didn't let her behavior provoke him. "I don't care about being a big star," Snoop replied coolly, his voice steady. "But I do care about respect, and everyone deserves it, regardless of who they are." Mandy's smile faltered for a moment, but she quickly masked it with an air of indifference. She turned, walking away without another word, probably thinking that Snoop's request would go unheard, or worse, ignored. But Snoop, rather than letting the moment slip away, used it as an opportunity to stand his ground. Within minutes, the manager arrived, his face apologetic, but clearly trying to defuse the situation. "I'm terribly sorry, sir. There seems to be some confusion. Let me make it right," he said, his voice soft but insistent. Snoop, still sitting at his table with an air of patience, took a deep breath. "I appreciate your apology," Snoop began, his voice calm but with a note of authority. "But it's not about the food anymore. It's about how I've been treated, and I'm not the only one. This isn't just about me. It's about the kind of atmosphere you want to create here. We all deserve better than that." The manager nodded, acknowledging Snoop's words. "You're absolutely right. We will address this immediately. I apologize for Mandy's behavior, and I promise you, this won't happen again." As Snoop sat back in his chair, the eyes of the other patrons in the restaurant were on him. Some of them had been whispering about the incident, but now their murmurs were quieter, more contemplative. Many of them, perhaps for the first time, saw how a situation of disrespect could be transformed into a learning moment, not through confrontation or anger, but through understanding and patience. Snoop smiled slightly, taking a sip of his drink when it finally arrived. "I just want to eat, man, and I want to make sure that no one here feels the way I did just now. This should be a place where everyone is welcome." The manager, now visibly embarrassed, nodded again. He quickly excused himself to resolve things with Mandy, who, in the background, had been watching the exchange unfold with growing discomfort. She was clearly not used to being called out for her behavior. Snoop, as usual, didn't make a spectacle of himself. He simply stayed seated, calmly enjoying his meal as he waited for the manager to return with a resolution. But the message was clear. Respect was something that could never be compromised, no matter who you were. By the time the manager came back, Mandy had been sent to take a break, and the staff had been reminded of the restaurant's core values, of hospitality and respect. The manager approached Snoop once again, this time with a genuine apology. "I'm sorry again, Mr. Dogg. I will personally make sure the staff is retrained on how to treat every guest with dignity. Thank you for your patience and your understanding," he said sincerely. Snoop nodded, his sunglasses still shielding his eyes, but his voice was warm. "No problem. I just want to see change, that's all." Later that night, Snoop's story spread. It wasn't about the food or the mix-up. It was about the way he handled the situation. He could have made a scene, thrown his weight around, or left the restaurant in a huff. But instead, he used the moment to educate, to show the world that even in the face of injustice, the better path was always one of respect, patience, and grace. By the time Snoop left the restaurant, he had not only enjoyed his meal, but also turned an unpleasant experience into a powerful lesson for everyone who witnessed it. Marcus, a sharp and seasoned business partner, greeted Snoop with a raised eyebrow as he walked into his office, looking more determined than ever. "What's going on, Snoop?" "You don't look like yourself today," Marcus said, noticing the serious tone in his voice. Snoop, sitting down across from him, took a deep breath. "I just walked out of a restaurant, man. But it wasn't just about a meal. I was disrespected in front of a bunch of people, treated like I didn't belong. A waitress, Mandy, was rude. And when I asked for the manager, she called the cops on me. Not just any cops, her brother, a cop named Jake, who came in and pulled a gun on me. Right there, in front of the customers, in front of everyone." Marcus leaned forward, his face a mix of disbelief and concern. "Wait, you're telling me they did that? To you, of all people? I can't even believe it." Snoop nodded, calm as ever. "Yeah, that's what happened. But here's the thing, Marcus. It's not about the food or the disrespect. It's about what this says, about how we treat each other, the prejudice, the entitlement. This isn't just an isolated incident. This is bigger." Marcus, always quick to think, nodded in agreement. "So what do you want to do about it?" Snoop's expression hardened. "I want to buy that restaurant. I want to make sure that no one ever walks into a place and gets treated like I did. Not on my watch. We're going to turn this around. Make it a place where everyone, no matter who they are, feels welcome. I'll make sure that place operates with respect, fairness, and inclusivity, or it's gone." Marcus's eyes widened as he began to realize the depth of Snoop's plan. "You're serious about this, aren't you?" "Dead serious," Snoop replied. "We'll make sure the right people run it, that no one faces discrimination or abuse. We'll set an example, and we're going to change the way things are done." Marcus sat back, processing the idea. "So you're going to buy it, turn it around, and make a statement. I get it. But this is going to be a big move, a bold one. You ready for that?" Snoop smiled faintly, his determination unwavering. "It's not just a bold move, Marcus. It's the right one. The people who run that place, the people who think they can treat others that way, they need to know it's not okay. And I'm the one who's going to show them that." Within the next few days, Snoop Dogg's legal team and business partners worked quickly behind the scenes, organizing the purchase of the restaurant. Word spread fast, and before long, the news of the sale made headlines. It wasn't just about the acquisition of a business. It was about the statement that Snoop was making. He didn't want to just change a single restaurant. He wanted to bring attention to the issue of prejudice and racism, to highlight how these small, seemingly insignificant moments of discrimination could have large and lasting consequences. His goal was to turn the restaurant into a symbol of inclusivity, respect, and fairness, values that should be universal, no matter your background, celebrity status, or appearance. As Snoop and his team worked on revamping the business, the media buzzed with stories of the rapper's bold move, and the public took notice. The press reported on the situation, focusing on the larger conversation about race, power, and responsibility. Snoop became an unexpected leader in the fight for justice, using his platform not just for his music or business, but for real, meaningful change. The incident became a turning point. The community rallied behind Snoop's initiative, praising his commitment to challenging the status quo and using his influence for good. His actions spoke louder than any words could, proving that even in the face of adversity, there was always a chance to make a positive impact. And Snoop, the calm, collected icon, was the perfect person to lead that charge. Drop. Mandy's smirk quickly faded as realization hit her. Her eyes widened and she glanced around the room at the other staff members, who were just as stunned by the news. You're the owner?" Mandy stammered, her voice a mix of disbelief and unease. Snoop nodded, his expression unwavering. That's right. I own this place now, and things are going to change. We're going to run this restaurant with respect for everyone, no matter who they are. There was an awkward silence as Mandy struggled to find words. Her initial defiance was gone, replaced by a nervous tension. She had always been so sure of herself, even when treating Snoop and others poorly. But now she was facing the consequences of her actions. The rest of the staff, who had witnessed the earlier interaction between Mandy and Snoop, looked around, uncertainly. They had seen Mandy's attitude, but now, with the rapper-turned-restaurant owner in front of them, they could feel the shift in power and authority. Snoop continued, his voice calm but firm. I didn't just buy this place for the food or the reputation. I bought it because I want to send a message that respect, dignity, and fairness are non-negotiable, no matter who you are or what you do. We all have a role to play in making this a place where people feel welcome. He turned his gaze toward the staff, making eye contact with each one of them. From now on, the only thing that matters in here is the quality of the service, the respect we show each other, and the way we treat every customer. If you can't meet those standards, you won't be working here. Mandy, clearly unsettled, tried to regain some composure. I didn't mean to... Snoop raised his hand, cutting her off. It's not about what you meant. It's about the actions you took. You didn't just disrespect me. You disrespected yourself and everyone else in this restaurant. But I believe in second chances, so I'm giving you one. The choice is yours. Do you want to be a part of this new vision, or do you want to leave? The room was tense, and all eyes were on Mandy. She stood there for a moment, the weight of the decision hanging in the air. Finally, after a long pause, she spoke, her voice quieter than before. I want to stay. I can do better. Snoop nodded. Good. I'm glad to hear that. We all make mistakes. What matters is that we learn from them and do better moving forward. The meeting continued as Snoop outlined his plans for the restaurant's future. He emphasized the importance of creating a space where all customers, no matter their background, felt welcome and valued. The changes wouldn't just be about the physical appearance of the restaurant, but also about the culture and attitude of everyone who worked there. Mandy, who had once been a symbol of intolerance, now found herself at a crossroads. It wasn't just about her job anymore. It was about her growth, her ability to learn from her past behavior, and her willingness to change. As the meeting concluded, the staff began to feel the weight of the shift that Snoop had promised. For many, it was a wake-up call. The restaurant, once a place of exclusion and disrespect, was now on its way to becoming a symbol of change, a place where fairness, inclusivity, and respect were not just ideals, but expectations. Snoop walked out of the meeting room with his head held high. He knew the road ahead would be challenging. Changing a culture wasn't easy, especially one that had been built on prejudice and poor management. But he was committed to the mission. This wasn't just about a restaurant. It was about using his influence to make a real difference, to set an example for others to follow. And with that, Snoop Dogg wasn't just a legendary rapper. He was a champion for change, for everyone to enjoy. House of Harmony is a reflection of what we can achieve when we come together, when we put respect and dignity at the forefront of everything we do. This place is a testament to the power of transformation, both for the space and for the people within it. Snoop stood at the front of the newly renovated restaurant, surrounded by a crowd of reporters, staff, and fans. The atmosphere was warm and inviting, a far cry from the hostile environment it had been just a short time ago. The new decor was a mix of contemporary elegance and vibrant cultural elements, celebrating diversity through art, music, and design. The menu, carefully crafted to highlight different flavors and culinary traditions, was a fusion of global influences, bringing together the best of various cultures. As Snoop spoke, the crowd nodded in agreement, many people visibly moved by his words. His vision for the restaurant had come to life, and it wasn't just about good food. It was about creating a space where people felt seen, heard, and respected, Snoop's message was clear. A place like this could exist anywhere if people were willing to stand up for what was right. "I've been lucky in life," Snoop continued. "But not everyone is treated equally. Not everyone is given the same opportunities. And that's why this restaurant isn't just for the rich or the famous. It's for everyone. This is a place where you can come, be yourself, and know that you're valued." The staff, many of whom had been hired after the renovation, were smiling, proud to be part of something bigger than just serving meals. They had all undergone extensive training in customer service and cultural sensitivity, and they embraced the new mission of the restaurant. For them, working at House of Harmony was a chance to make a difference, not just a paycheck. The media covered the reopening extensively, and the message was clear. Snoop Dogg was not just a successful entertainer, he was an advocate for social change. People from all walks of life came to support the restaurant, eager to experience not only the food, but the inclusive atmosphere that Snoop had worked hard to create. Snoop had not only transformed a restaurant, he had sparked a movement. The public response was overwhelmingly positive. The restaurant quickly gained a reputation for its great food, exceptional service, and, most importantly, its commitment to fairness and equality. People of all backgrounds, ethnicities, and walks of life felt welcome and respected at House of Harmony. As the days went on, Snoop received messages from fans, community leaders, and organizations praising his initiative. It wasn't just about one incident at a restaurant. It was about making a stand against prejudice, about showing the world that we can all do better, be better, and create a society that embraces everyone. For Snoop, the work didn't end with the restaurant's reopening. He used his platform to continue advocating for justice, equality, and respect for all people. He knew that real change would take time, but he was willing to lead by example, showing the world that standing up for what is right could inspire others to do the same. House of Harmony became more than just a restaurant. It became a beacon of hope, a symbol of what could happen when people decided to turn injustice into opportunity, when they took action to make the world a more inclusive and loving place. And as Snoop Dogg stood in the middle of his newly revamped restaurant, looking around at the smiling faces of the staff and customers, he knew he had achieved something meaningful, a change that would resonate for years to come. As the news spread, the community rallied behind Snoop, and the support was overwhelming. People from all walks of life, from everyday citizens to influential public figures, expressed their admiration for Snoop's commitment to turning his experience into something positive. They recognized that his actions spoke volumes about the importance of standing up against injustice, and they were inspired by his courage to take a stand. In the days following Jake's firing, a public outcry continued to demand that law enforcement agencies adopt better training for officers, particularly in areas of cultural sensitivity and appropriate use of force. The incident became a catalyst for conversations about accountability, fairness, and how society can better protect its citizens from abuse of power. Many advocacy groups called for a reform in policing to ensure that similar incidents would not happen again. Meanwhile, House of Harmony's influence continued to grow, becoming more than just a restaurant. It became a cultural hub, where conversations about justice, equality, and respect were welcomed. Snoop's vision of a place where everyone felt valued resonated deeply with many people, and the restaurant served as a reminder that small acts of kindness and courage could lead to significant change. The media's attention on House of Harmony did not die down. It became the subject of interviews, documentaries, and articles, each one highlighting the positive message that Snoop had helped create. Celebrities and influencers who visited often shared their experiences on social media, further amplifying the restaurant's message of inclusivity and unity. Snoop never saw his actions as a personal victory, though. For him, it was about something much bigger than himself. It was about creating a lasting legacy that would inspire others to challenge injustice and to work together for a more just and compassionate world. One evening, as the restaurant buzzed with activity and Snoop sat down to share a quiet moment, With his team, he received a letter from a young woman who had visited the restaurant with her family. The letter read, "Dear Snoop, I can't begin to express how much this place has impacted me. As a young woman of color, I've faced my share of discrimination. But walking into House of Harmony, I felt like I was truly seen. It's not just about the great food or the ambiance. It's the message you've put into every corner of this place. You've shown me that I don't have to tolerate injustice, and I don't have to let it define me. Thank you for showing me what's possible." Snoop held the letter in his hands for a moment, the weight of its meaning sinking in. He had taken an incident of personal injustice and turned it into something that affected change on a global scale. In that moment, he realized that the ripple effect of his actions was far greater than he had ever imagined. House of Harmony continued to thrive, not only because of its delicious food and welcoming environment, but because it stood as a living testament to the power of one person's decision to make a difference. Snoop's journey had become an inspiration to many, proving that anyone, regardless of their background, could stand up for what is right and create something positive out of adversity. And as he stood in the heart of House of Harmony, surrounded by his team and customers who had become a part of his vision, Snoop knew that his fight against injustice had only just begun. The lessons learned and the changes made would continue to inspire others for generations to come, and soon became a shining example of how businesses can thrive while upholding values of respect, inclusivity, and fairness. House of Harmony was not only known for its excellent food and service, but also for its commitment to uplifting communities and empowering marginalized voices. Snoop's actions had turned the restaurant into a symbol of social change, inspiring others to follow suit. The success of House of Harmony prompted discussions across industries on how important it was to prioritize people over profit, particularly when it came to providing equal opportunities and fighting discrimination. Many companies reached out to Snoop for advice on how they could integrate similar values into their businesses. Jake, on the other hand, was forced to come to terms with the consequences of his actions, stripped of his badge and facing charges. For his abuse of power, he found himself ostracized from the very system that once protected him. His family connections, once a source of pride, couldn't shield him from the overwhelming public outcry. In the months that followed, Jake sought counseling and eventually enrolled in programs aimed at addressing bias, power dynamics, and empathy in law enforcement. He knew he had to change in order to redeem himself, but the path to personal growth was long and difficult. Mandy, too, found herself at a crossroads. Her reputation had been tarnished, and she struggled to find work in the restaurant industry. The harsh lessons she had learned from her behavior and the consequences that followed were not lost on her. With time, she worked hard to reflect on her actions and what had driven her to treat people with such disrespect. The moment of vulnerability when she visited House of Harmony, though small, was a turning point for her. She began to understand the gravity of what she had done and committed herself to being a better person. While forgiveness was a long way off, she knew that growth required owning up to her mistakes and making amends. As for Snoop, he remained deeply committed to his vision of creating a world where everyone was treated with dignity and respect. The success of House of Harmony had only strengthened his resolve to continue using his platform for social good. He continued to speak out on issues of racial injustice, and he became a prominent advocate for reforming not only the restaurant industry, but also broader social systems. The ripple effect of his actions continued to resonate, sparking a movement that sought to bring about meaningful change. And though Snoop's initial decision was born from an unjust personal experience, it had grown into something much larger, a mission to challenge injustice wherever it existed and to create a space for people to come together, united by a common desire for respect and equality. Ultimately, Snoop's story wasn't just one of triumph over adversity. It was a reminder to everyone that when we stand up for what's right, we can transform our pain into purpose, and in doing so, make the world a better place for all. This article truly captures the powerful impact of Snoop Dogg's journey, not just as a celebrity, but as a leader in social change. By transforming a personal experience of injustice into a movement for respect, fairness, and inclusivity, Snoop turned House of Harmony into a beacon of hope and a model for businesses across industries. Snoop's decision to take a stand and create a space where people of all backgrounds are welcomed with dignity sends a strong message to the world. Injustice can be confronted, not with retaliation or anger, but with empathy, action, and the determination to make a difference. His creation of the Harmony Fund further exemplifies his commitment to providing resources and support for those who have faced discrimination, helping them regain their footing and thrive. By encouraging other restaurants and businesses to adopt diversity and inclusion policies, Snoop has contributed to a ripple effect of change, proving that, even in the face of adversity, one individual can make a lasting impact. The story ends on a hopeful note, showing that Snoop's legacy is built on a foundation of kindness, respect, and fairness, principles that continue to inspire people to treat each other with dignity and compassion. Snoop's journey is a reminder that we all have the power to turn the challenges we face into opportunities for growth, understanding, and positive transformation. Thank you for sharing this inspiring narrative. It's a reminder that, when faced with adversity, we can choose to rise above and make a difference.